So genes cannot turn themselves on and off. They're blueprints for protein, but they don't self-activate. Okay? Their genes are chosen in response to environmental perceptions. In the level of the human being, so we're a collection, we're a community of cells. Our perceptions are our beliefs. And those beliefs, how we perceive the world, doesn't necessarily mean how the world is, but how we perceive it is how we choose our genes and our behavior. And that's another critical point. So blueprints hold the information for this house, but they don't make the house. It takes the environment to actually build the house. This is an analogy to the DNA. DNA is no different in our body than this kind of a blueprint. It holds information, but it takes people to come along and materials and everything to turn this blueprint into a house. That's epigenetics. That's how the environment tells the cell which genes to use. And that's a very different thing than the genes controlling everything, okay? And this is a slide I got from Dr. Joe Chang, who's the Chief Scientific Officer. You can influence the genes. These two women are twins, but they look dramatically different in their age. So their DNA is identical. They're identical twins. But they look very different because they both had different environments that they've lived in, different perceptions of their environment. And when you look at their chromosomes, there's expression happening in one that isn't in a certain area of that chromosome in the other woman. That's because their environment has told these chromosomes which genes to use. But the blueprint is identical. You see that? But the women look different. That's because they have different environments. And there's several twin studies along those lines. Another experiment I'll show you, there's a biologist named Bruce Lipton that's wrote several books, and he was at University of Wisconsin, which is interesting because LifeGen Technologies, a lot of research was done there with Dr. Weindrup at Pola, and Stanford also. He took, from people with muscular dystrophy, he took cells, they're called dystrophic cells, from those people's muscles, and he put them in a healthy environment, in a petri dish. What's amazing is he got healthy muscle cells. What that tells you is those cells have full capacity to be healthy. In the environment of the body of the individual with MD, they became dystrophic. But it wasn't a property of the cell to be sick. The cell is always ready to be healthy as long as it has the right environmental influence, the right ability to eliminate toxin. But it shows you right there that our cells can do whatever based on the environment they're in, and that's all changeable. So the beliefs as a person or the environment, the direct environment of the cell, because thought is electrically connected to all of your cells in your body. Those perceptions or environmental perception, whether it's temperature, food, thought, all of those things are altering the biology of the cell. That's a critical point. One other experiment done is you can take stem cells, which are identical genetics, just like a twin, but they're on a cellular level. And you vary the nutrients, okay? You put them in 3 different petri dishes and vary which nutrients go in each dish. And what's amazing is one dish will turn into bone cells, one will turn into muscle cells, and one will turn into fat cells. Now that's an amazing concept because genetically identical cells, based on their environment, become different specialized cells. But you see, the DNA is the same. That hasn't changed. Only the environment. That's why Vitality and Future Serum and all those products and the ones that are already in the pipeline work. So there's something being worked on now called the Human Epigenome Project. The Human Genome Project took something like 10 years, billions of dollars, tons of supercomputers and labs, and they came up with 25,000 genes. Well, can see, epigenetic marks are going to be in the millions, because to take 25,000 genes and make all of us, everyone different, make all cell types, there's a lot of epigenetic marks. When two twins can look so different, there's a massive amount of environmental influence on the DNA. And I'll show you this last experiment for now. These mice are genetically identical. They both have a mutation that's called the Gaudy mutation. It makes them yellow and obese and more prone to cancers and diabetes. The only difference between these two mice is this mouse's mother was given extra B vitamins, methyl-rich vitamins, B12, folic acid. And this is a completely normal, brown, healthy mouse, but carries this same mutation. That's an amazing experiment, because simply by adding in some vitamins, rich in B vitamins during pregnancy, turn this mouse into this mouse. Identical genetics. Okay, that's a huge experiment. You've shut down that Gaudy gene. The sister is genetically identical and is expressing the Gaudy gene. That's purely an environmental difference. And when we start talking about LifePak Nano, vitamins and minerals make a massive difference on how your genes are expressed and how healthy a person can be. And the authors of this work, Yertle and Waterland at Duke in 2000, with no more than a change in diet, laboratory of Gaudy mouse were prompted to give birth to young that differed markedly in appearance and disease susceptibility. And the author wrote this. It was a little eerie and a little scary to see how something as subtle as a nutritional change in the pregnant mother could have such a dramatic effect on the gene expression of the baby. This result shows how important epigenetic changes could be. This is why vitality works. This is why LifePak Nano is so important, because the subtleties are true. The nutrition of the human body, adding things like what's in vitality, really does affect the genetics and really does affect the health outcome. We're working into health span supplements, extend people's healthy lives. This happens. This is very true scientifically. These are some other experiments. I'll show you these tonight or later. It goes into how the human being, well, this quote is a good one regardless. You hear this a lot in New Skin. Lou Holtz said a quote that, in this world you're either growing or you're dying, so get in motion and grow. Basically, there's no such thing as status quo as a human. You're either, and on a cellular level this is true too, you're either in growth, moving towards nutrition, or in a repelling or a fear state, moving away from something toxic. But there's no in between, so it's better to grow. So, and I'll go into more of this in the full talk, but so you ask yourself, what beliefs are you selecting your genes with? Based on your beliefs. See, it's not what's really happening in your environment, it's how you perceive it. Two people can stand next to each other in the same room. One could be overjoyed and confident, one can be scared. It's all perception. It's not the reality of what's going on, because there really isn't. It's all subjective. But it's how you see the world is how you are. And there's a great master who once said, the mind is the power. It really is the power, because your mind, in terms of your perception, and then in terms of how you take in nutrition and different things into your body, what you put on your skin, is really determining who you are. Epigenetics means you have the power to change anything by changing your beliefs. You are not a victim of your DNA. And you hear a lot in our society about genetics, and did you inherit this, and did you inherit that. I just showed you two mice. One of them has a genetic mutation and is perfectly normal because the proper nutrition overrode that.